Okay, so this is the factory plastic cover at the end, and it looks like it's actually marked right where you're supposed to drill a hole into it. It lines up with these two holes right here, threaded holes, and the mark is right there. 1 and 2 right here. The side panel also needs to be drilled, both sides right here, and the corresponding marking on it is inside right here. And it's the very same situation on the right side. See, they marked it for us on the side right here. This is actually how you remove it first. Pop the front end, gently pull it out. It's notched right in here, the little tab. Here's the other pre-marked drilling template. You gotta drill a hole into it and then put it back in. Make sure this little tab matches the notch right down there. So now we're drilling the hole into the side panel. We're using a 16mm diameter drill bit for the 16.5mm drill bit for the 60mm diameter spacer. You gotta make sure to put some wood blocks underneath, not to scratch it, and go at it gently. Right where the marking is. And once it's out, you gotta clean it off. And then we'll fit the little spacer in here, and it fits right in there. So this is one side. Now we're moving on to the other side. I believe this is the left side. We're gonna pick up the mark right there, marked right there, and that's what we're aiming for. This is what we're aiming for. And this is the final piece, the rear plastic cover. Again, we're aiming for this little mark right there. You go ahead. Yeah. Clean it out a little bit. You can go around it with a knife after you get to that burr. And the other side to finish it up. And that's it. Fit the spacer in. Right in. Right on. So after you've drilled the holes where necessary, you gotta start putting the plastic covers on the side. Make sure you start from underneath. This little tab will go into the notch right there. And then you move up to the top. Down at the bottom there's a clip. The clip has to go in, pop in. and then the top will clip in. And that's it. Goddamn. The left side is gonna go on. Just gonna put the bolt back in. It's right there. And the tail piece. First we gotta take off the gas cap. Place it back on. Spread it out a little bit. Back on. And then you can start putting on the spacers. All of them nice and loose. And they're sitting straight. And then we can move on to the next step. So in the previous videos, we demonstrated how to and where to drill the holes for the top mounting tabs. Don't be afraid to make them slightly larger. They will help you with the installation. They will make it easier for you. And the tabs will sit in much nicer and not going to be pushing on the plastic. Now grab a T40 Torx and the ratchet and remove these two bolts and dismount the footpack. Hold the footpack with one hand, remove the last bolt, and that is it. Repeat the same thing on the other side. And now you can go ahead and insert the two bolts into the lower mounting tabs. Make sure to use medium blue thread locking fluid. Now with the bottom bolts being secured, we're gonna insert the two upper ones. We have an 8mm by 40mm long Torx / hex head bolt that will go on the front, the longer one, and the shorter one. It's an 8 by 25mm that goes on the rear. Make sure to apply thread locking fluid once again. Gotta line them up. If you need to move it a little bit, don't be afraid. And just use a socket and gently thread it in with your hand. That's it. You don't have to tighten it right now. Just leave it fairly loose and then move on to the right side of the motorcycle. Gently placing it into its place up here. It's good down at the foot peg mount. So now we can go ahead and insert the two bolts down in here, again using thread locking fluid. So now grab the thread locking fluid again and the two corresponding bolts. Apply the fluid, just a dab. Like so. Spread it out a little bit and hand thread it in. Both holes have lined up, so we're good to go down here. And like so, just leave it loose for now. And we're moving on to the top mounting tabs. All right, so here we go. Finishing the top end here. Make sure the holes, the mounting holes line up. We're good to go. Once again, the longer bolt goes on the front, shorter bolt goes on the back. Thread locking fluid. Give it a dab, just a little bit, like so. Spread it. It's good enough. I'm just going to drop it in. Closing the lid on this. We don't want any accidents. And Torx 30, D30, and just hand thread it in. You don't have to tighten it too much, leave it loose. That's about it. And we're going to move on to the final step, that is attaching the rear cross brace. Next step is installing the rear cross brace. Make sure the tabs, both tabs go on the inside of this tab. And I will just use the supplied 6mm diameter bolts. I'm going to put in one on the other side and grab the rest, place it in. When the mounting holes line up, get the two holes lined up, put it in, and one more on the right side. And finally go ahead and thread on the supplied locking nuts. Just hand threading is good for now. All four of them, to each side. And now I'm going to go ahead and tighten the cross braces, bolts, and nuts using a T25 Torx on the outside, of course with a ratchet, and on the inside on the M6 nut I'm going to be using a 10mm socket and a little extension handle. So go ahead and tighten the last one up here, or whichever is your last one. Make sure it's nice and snug. I prefer tightening the nut for the final step. That's it. Now with the rear cross brace being fully tightened, you can go ahead and finish all the other bolts, tighten them. I will start with the foot peg mount. So still pretty loose, so I can go ahead and use my my hand to tighten as far as I can. When you feel it's tight, just grab the ratchet and the T40 Torx and go all the way before it gets really tight. That's pretty good now. So I don't want to use a ratchet to tighten. I'll grab the extension and then tighten like so. And like so. Now staying on the same side, we're gonna go ahead and gently tighten the upper mounting bolts. Only gently because the nuts inside the subframe are not exactly the toughest. They're not going to be able to handle a lot of pressure, so I just really just hand tighten them. Not too much pressure on them. That's about it. Move on to the other side. It is the very same scenario on the right side. Just don't go too crazy tightening this bolt. Just gentle. The thread locking fluid will hold it. You're going to feel it when it starts really tightening. Don't go any further than that. And then the T40 Torx and ratchet once again to finish up the installation and tighten the right side lower mounting points. This one's easy with the hand too. And tighten with the extension, or I prefer to do so. And done.